Councillor, it's not a win-lose. I think we're a little bit more mature than that. I think the questions raised opened up some really
I just
important
rethink that
discussion.
Taichung relationship.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, can I ask that when this comes back, we also hear about the Global Cities competition that we're putting a lot of work into?
That's right. Be
So
careful.
hang on, okay, councillors, and I may as well, you know, we need to also think about our relationship on the wider world stage, and there are things that are happening this year. I myself am joining the Prime Minister, as I told you. I'm going to Korea with the Prime Minister for 4 days next week. So, you know, let's just be really clear. This is not all about jetting around the world, and I know and I expect all sorts of drama in the media about that. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and escorting 24 businesses to try and do the right thing by Auckland feels to me like a pretty damn good use of our time. It's not going to exactly be a lot of fun. So let's move on.
Well, I just want to ask, when it comes back, could we also have some indication of what our relationship with Equally is? Because I read this report and it kind of indicated to me that that must be finished. But
I don't think we've broken up with Equally. Let's get some clarity on that.
And the addition, in point 14, which says which may require additional funding, though we said it doesn't. So it'd be really clear because we've got an LTP coming up, and we need to.
And we've got that list of issues to raise. So I'm now going to warmly welcome our exceedingly patient Puki Tāpapa Deputy Chair, and let's now turn our minds to.
Councillor Cashmore had a...
Oh, sorry, Councillor
I'll
Cashmore,
just
go
let's take a little bit of flippancy, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering, are you taking your Kathmandu tent when you go with the Prime Minister so you can sleep on the front lawn?
I'm most certainly not, and I'm also not sharing anything with anybody.
Oh, okay.
And the Prime Minister will be quite safe, thank you, should anyone be
Inside
asked.
joke.
So let's now get serious. Three Kings is a major issue for us, so 5 minutes, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tēnā koutou katoa. Light relief, I think, after what we've experienced today.
We'll see.
We'll see about that.
Doesn't sound like light relief.
We've only just started.
So just firstly, a couple of quick points. Just to remind the committee that the Puki Tāpapa Local Board has always supported residential intensification in its board area. Not like some other board areas, we have always done this, but we welcome intensification that is done well. That's why we developed, you know, the Three Kings plan. We don't want to saddle future generations with a development that becomes a social disaster because of indecent haste for more houses at any cost. So, to this end, the Puki Tāpapa Local Board supports a land swap that facilitates this plan. So, some specific comments on the paper before you. We are concerned, the board is concerned that the only consideration that ACPL has given to the Three Kings plan is a very narrow analysis of reserve land exchange, and I will come back to this point a little later. There has been little analysis of other objectives of our plan. No consideration, for example, of using the land swap to significantly increase access to our maunga. No consideration of high quality residential development. No consideration of improved access for communities to and from and across the development, except maybe that is by private vehicle. The development as proposed and as being sought under this land swap deal effectively creates a gated community which only has access by cars or a flight of 100 stairs. What we all want is the best outcome for the whole community, not just a slavish pursuit, as I've said, of houses without regard for consequences. So little consideration appears to have been given to higher objectives that could be achieved. Little consideration appears to be given to land swaps other than just the pure Fletcher's proposal. And this from an organisation that hopes to form part of a new Auckland development CCO. The timeline set out in this proposal is confused and hasty, and I might add there is still confusion about the order of events. Land swap before plan change or plan change before land swap. The board appreciates that it will finally receive the briefing that it has been waiting for in later this month. The briefings that the board have received to date have been little and trifling, i.e. should the buffer between the playing fields and the residential buildings be 5 metres or 10 metres? The board does not consider this to be adequate engagement. The board also expects to be briefed on the outcome of the public consultation, but wonders how this consultation can be undertaken while consultation will continue as set out in para 3 with iwi and adjoining landowners. As well, the board does not understand why public consultation would be heard by the same hearing commissioners who have been appointed to hear the Fletcher plan change as recommended in Resolution 5. We heard something about this earlier in this morning's session. The problems of having similar commissioners hearing parallel processes. So getting close to the end, the current exchange as given to the board in a memo just a matter of weeks ago is, in my mind, inequitable. I'm not sure what calculus officers are conducting in assessing this deal. However, I'm a simple soul and limit myself to addition and subtraction. So if we just look at the plan, and this is, I think, on page 71 of your agenda, if we can't see very well up there. Yes, so I will, so the green here, this green area, both sides, is part of the playing fields proposed, and that area is approximately 20,000 square metres or about 2 hectares. So that's, that would be a net gain to the council of 2 hectares. Now the proposal appears to suggest, that we take this area on the council and we take area around the footprint of these 2 buildings, including a pocket park, which I understand Councillor Fletcher's not overly keen about councils taking responsibility for. So these areas really add little to sort of the public space, except for allowing the council to maintain grounds around private buildings. So this area on this side amounts to about 3 hectares, which we're giving to Fletcher's. So we've got 2 to council, 3 to Fletcher's. And then there's a slightly complicated area in area B, part of which there, both sides, is part of the playing fields. There's a little pocket at the bottom that is existing Parks Depot, but all in all, we are giving 2.4 of that 3 hectares to Fletcher's. So the results of my simple addition and subtraction add up to somewhat over 5 hectares to Fletcher's for a net gain to council of 2 hectares. It certainly doesn't seem a particularly equitable exchange in my mind. So it's clear that there's a long way to go in this negotiation if we're looking at a fair and reasonable exchange. So in summary then, the board seeks 4 things, and I haven't got these on the screen, so you have to bear with my verbal on this. We seek assurance that the report back to this committee will look at aspects of the whole Three Kings plan, not just the narrow increase in sports facilities. So we want a complete analysis, not just what we've got to date, which is merely our reserves area plus reserves area minus. We want assurance that the board will receive a briefing on the results of the public consultation before officers report back to you, and clarification as to why the hearings commissioner appointed to hear the Fletchers' private plan change would be the appropriate people to hear the public submissions concerning the proposed land swap. And lastly, we would request that in order to facilitate particularly the public consultation feedback, we would seek that the report back to ADC would be extended from May to June. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's, thanks Harry, appreciate that. Why don't we move straight to the presentation. Megan, you're going to do it.
Thank you,
from
Madam.
here.
Madam Chair. Clive is going to come forward now from ACPL. So the matter before you today is in relation to the land exchange aspect only. There are just a couple of PowerPoint slides which Clive and I will go through very quickly. I'll start just with the first few just to remind you of the context, and then Clive will take you quickly through the land exchange matter and then answer any questions. Sorry, can you do it for me? So next one. So just, this is a very, it's not an absolutely accurate map, but you can see in the blue line, that includes, you can see the quarry area in particular, plus the additional reserves land that you saw in the plan that Harry showed earlier. The red is a very indicative location of where the special housing area that was gazetted just recently was signed off in that northeastern corner of the site. Next please, Rita. So again, without needing to go through what Harry said, the Puketapapa Local Board have endorsed the Three Kings Plan. It is a 30-year aspirational plan. It did have extensive engagement, and as Harry spoke about, there's particular focus in there around the connections, the usability of the space, and the quality of the built environment. It also, as Harry said, reflects the possibility of a land exchange. Next, please. So again, just to remind you around the plan change aspect, so Fletcher Residential has applied for 2 private plan changes. One includes that wider area that we're talking about with that reserve land. The second is limited only to what you know as the quarry site itself. Everything has been publicly notified. It has gone through the submission process and is coming out the other side. We are now assessing those submissions and any further information that we require. Just a note in terms of the Act itself, so this is not specific to the site but is in general for anything under the RMA. The applicant does not have to have ownership or control over the land under a request or for a decision to be made on a plan change. And the land exchange element of the plan changes need to be considered under the Reserves Act, which is what we want to talk to you about today. And I'll hand over to Clive now to take us through the rest of the slides. Thanks. Thanks, Clive.
Thanks, Megan. And I think the important point to pick up from what Megan said in terms of reflecting on the 2 plan change applications is that the reason I think there's a conversation going on about a land exchange is because it is possible for Fletchers to develop the land it owns without the land exchange. And that is an option for Fletchers, and they've lodged a plan change to do that. I think and whilst ACPL is representing the discussions, coordinating discussions with Fletchers, I think there's a broad there's a broad acknowledgement in the development professions of the council that we'll get a superior outcome if by engaging in a land exchange that makes better use of what is not necessarily accessible or well utilised or high quality reserve land, and reconfiguring that in conjunction with a more comprehensive form of development. And so all of these conversations around the land exchange are trying to come up with a better arrangement of the land between usable open space, recreation land and residential development, so there's a superior outcome for the community. And so we've got both this land exchange process conversation going on and the plan change process going on. So so currently, those that are familiar with it will know that some of the land it's both Crown and council land. Some of it is car parking, some of it is inaccessible and difficult to, it's visual amenity without being accessible. And what the Fletcher proposal does is effectively exchange some of the more difficult terrain for formed sport fields on the quarry floor, built up quarry floor. So that's the essence of it. And what we've been trying to do with the local board is certainly through, and Harry's their contact person, keep them regularly informed of progress. But I mean, but from November, you agreed here that there was a whole number of parties we should talk to, Antipodean, who owns the commercial centre, to Housing New Zealand and to iwi, the Manga Authority, and we're working through all of those consultations. So there's still more, I mean, there's correspondence coming in even this morning from Housing New Zealand in terms of some of its perspectives on some of the land. We've been Antipodean have been working and also been in dialogue with Fletcher's, and so this is, it's live and we're working it through, and until we have a firm proposal, it's very difficult to lay the whole thing out and lay the whole evaluation in front of decision-making bodies. So and I think, so today's report, if we just go to, if we go to the next slide, today's report sorry, I've just talked about that, is largely about, I suppose, is really agreeing with you some of the details of the process that Member Doig also referred to. So we've got to a point now where, at an officer level, we think we're close to seeing an exchange arrangement that benefits the overall development and one which is suitable for recommendation. So, and that's being written up and evaluated in terms of the quality of the reserve exchange, the degree to which it delivers against the Three Kings plan, and all the other elements that we can think we should evaluate it against, and report that to the March meeting of the Puketapapa local board. Then again, back in November, you made the point, the committee resolved that there should be some public consultation, and then so the plan is when we have a scheme that merits serious consideration, that we then get the community feedback on that. So we take that through the April period, and then digest that consultation. It's very easy to fit in another, it's not mentioned here, but go back to the local board, either at its April meeting or in a workshop, and then through to this committee in May. So I mean, that's the time frame that we're recommending in the report. That then allows once you take a view on the merits of a land exchange, it then allows the plan change process to proceed with I suppose far more certainty. And whilst Megan made the point that you don't necessarily have to, that doesn't stop Fletcher pursuing a plan change, it has a more realistic basis if there is certainty around the achievability of the land change arrangement, the land exchange arrangement. Look, I think the suggestion of the same commissioners that mentioned to was simply it just built on the familiarity and expertise, and really I think we just took advice from other council officers that was probably a prudent way to do it. And then once we go through the plan change and any Reserve Act processes, it's a matter of an application off to the Minister of Conservation. So I mean, it's still a long process. I think Fletchers are largely focusing on that central quarry area. I think what they're conceiving is quite compatible with the Antipodeans' emerging plans to reinvigorate the commercial centre. And I think Housing New Zealand are within their mandate, are also active and thinking about its redevelopment possibilities. And some of the conversations with them, we've also taken things outside of the Fletcher negotiations, ways of improving access to the Manga as well through, maybe some exchanges with Housing New Zealand, but that can come as a stage 2 or a stage 3, depending on how this. So really today's a process, Madam Chair, in terms of trying to work through what is a complex regulatory and statutory process, but hopefully we can do it in a way that everybody will be happy.
And Madam Chair, just to finish off, perhaps responding to the question around why we're suggesting the same commissioners hear the two matters. That was purely only from a knowledge perspective. It seems to us a more efficient and useful way of ensuring that the people who make the decisions have a good knowledge of the site and the issues.